When Carrie returns to her childhood's abandoned house, she doesn't imagine that renovating those walls would also mean confronting old wounds. Determined to honor her family's memory, she breathes new life into the home, but at the peak of the transformation, an unexpected visitor threatens everything she has rebuilt. In the clash between past and present, Carrie will discover that true legacies are not always in what is seen. Hello, my friends. I am Linda, and this is the Linda's Stories channel. I hope you enjoy this story. The wind whispered through the leaves of the trees as Carrie parked her car in front of her childhood home. A two-story house, with large windows that once gleamed in the sun, now covered by the dust of time. The garden, once meticulously tended by her mother Susan, was overrun with weeds. Carrie felt a pang in her chest as she looked at the place she once called home. Carrie Winters was a woman of silent determination, a trait she inherited from her father, Howard. Her brown hair framed a face with delicate features that reminded one of her mother. She worked as an architect in a big city, building a solid yet solitary career. When Carrie opened the house door, the creak of rusty hinges seemed to awaken sleeping ghosts. The entrance hall was exactly as she remembered. The floral wallpaper, now faded, the dark wooden sideboard where her father used to leave his keys, and the oval mirror that reflected a more tired version of herself. The smell of mold mixed with memories invaded her nostrils. She slowly walked through each room. In the living room, she imagined her mother sitting on the sofa, reading a book, the afternoon sun bathing her serene face. In the kitchen, she remembered the family breakfasts, the shared laughter, the plans made around that solid wooden table. She climbed the stairs, the steps creaking under her feet. The second floor housed 3 bedrooms and a bathroom. Her parents' room remained with the door closed, an untouched sanctuary since Susan's departure. Carrie's room, painted in shades of blue, still displayed posters of bands from the 2000s and photographs of high school friends. Carrie sat on the edge of the bed, letting the memories flood her mind. She remembered the day her mother was diagnosed. She was only 17 when the doctors spoke about amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, words that changed the course of their lives. The following years were a blur of hospitals, medications, and watching her mother slowly wither away. Susan, once a vibrant woman full of life, a literature teacher beloved by her students, gradually lost control over her body. First, there were small stumbles, objects falling from her hands. Then, the difficulty in speaking, in swallowing. Finally, confined to a bed, often confused, looking at Carrie as if she were a stranger. Howard aged 10 years during that period. His grey hair, once confined to his temples, spread like snow over his head. The wrinkles around his eyes deepened, silent witnesses to sleepless nights and constant worries. Still, he never stopped holding Susan's hand, reading to her, or telling her how much he loved her, even when he wasn't sure if she understood. Carrie did what she could. Between finishing high school and taking care of her mother, there was little time to be a teenager. Friends invited her to parties she couldn't attend. Dreams of attending a distant college were postponed. Her life revolved around that house, that room, that bed where her mother lay. When Susan finally passed away on a rainy autumn afternoon, Carrie felt both relief and pain. Relief from knowing the suffering was over. Pain from realizing her mother was truly gone. 2 weeks after the funeral, Howard insisted that Carrie accept the scholarship she had earned to study architecture at a renowned university. "Your mother always wanted you to follow your dreams," he said, with tears in his eyes. "I can't let you give up on them now." And so, with a conflicted heart, Carrie left some time later. The physical distance also brought an emotional distance between father and daughter. Holiday visits became awkward encounters, superficial talks about the weather and studies. The bond that united them, Susan, was no longer there to fill the silences. It was during a Thanksgiving holiday 4 years after Susan's death that Howard announced he had something important to say. When Carrie arrived at her father's new apartment, a modern and impersonal place so different from the family home, she met Jenny. Jenny Lawson was the opposite of Susan. Where her mother was discreet and elegant in her simplicity, Jenny was exuberant, with dyed blonde hair, flashy jewellery, and a loud laugh that seemed to fill the whole room. She worked as a real estate agent and met Howard when he was looking for an apartment. "We're engaged," Howard announced, holding Jenny's hand. "We're getting married next month." Carrie tried to smile, she really did, but her father's next words felt like a stab. "And I'm thinking of selling the house. No one has lived there for a long time, and maintaining 2 properties doesn't make sense." The discussion that followed was painful. Words as sharp as razors, old wounds reopened. "How could you forget her so easily?" Carrie shouted, tears streaming down her face. "Do you want to erase everything we lived in that house? Everything Mom meant to us?" "Your mother is gone, Carrie," Howard replied, his voice trembling. "And I can't spend the rest of my life in mourning. Susan wouldn't want that." "I will not attend your wedding," were Carrie's last words before leaving her father standing in the middle of the room, his weary face showing every one of his years. The next 5 years were filled with silence, sporadic phone calls on special occasions, generic text messages. Carrie graduated, got a good job, and rented a comfortable apartment. She built a life separate from her past, although the memories haunted her on lonely nights. Until the phone call came. "Carrie, this is Jenny, your father's wife." The voice on the other end of the line sounded small, frightened. "Howard has had a stroke. He's in the hospital." Carrie's world fell apart again. She grabbed her keys and drove like mad to the hospital, her heart pounding in her chest. The sight of her father, usually strong and imposing, connected to tubes and machines, was devastating. He looked smaller, more fragile. The doctors talked about wait and see, about possible sequelae, terms Carrie was already all too familiar with. Jenny did not leave Howard's side. She slept in an uncomfortable chair, talked to him even when there was no response, adjusted his blankets, and moistened his chapped lips. Carrie watched from a distance, recognizing in those gestures the same devoted love her father had shown her mother Susan years ago. One night, while Jenny went to get coffee, Carrie was left alone with her father. She held his hand, telling him about her recent work, when she felt a slight squeeze. Howard's eyes opened, cloudy but aware. "Carrie." His voice was just a whisper. "My girl." The tears came without warning. "Dad, I'm sorry. For everything." Howard shook his head slightly. "I never forgot your mother. She was my first love and still holds a place in my heart, but I still had love inside me and found in Jenny the chance to live it." "I know, Dad," Carrie replied, holding his hand tightly. "I just didn't understand at the time. Now I do. Jenny seems like a good person." A faint smile appeared on Howard's lips. "Carrie, I didn't sell our old house. It's yours. But remember that memories don't dwell in things, but in the heart." He clasped his daughter's hand between his own, with the little strength he had left. That night, Howard passed away peacefully, as if he had been waiting just to make amends with his daughter. After the funeral, where Jenny and Carrie shared tears and hugs, the young woman decided to face the past. The house needed renovations, and who better than an architect to restore it? The following months were ones of self-discovery. Every wall she painted, every board she replaced, every corner she cleaned seemed to free a piece of her soul. She found boxes of photographs in the attic, her childhood drawings carefully kept by her mother Susan, birthday cards exchanged between her parents. The house was coming to life again. The now clean windows let in sunlight. The garden, replanted with the same flowers her mother loved, filled the air with fragrance in the spring. The fresh paint on the walls covered damp stains, but did not erase the marks on the kitchen wall where her height had been measured year after year. On a Sunday afternoon, when the finishing touches had been completed, the doorbell rang. It was Jenny. Carrie opened the door, surprised. Jenny looked older, more tired since the funeral, but still maintained that upright posture, that determination in her eyes. "This house now belongs to me," Jenny announced, her voice firm. Carrie felt the blood freeze in her veins. What are you saying? I think you didn't pay attention to the documents you signed after Howard's passing, Jenny continued. You relinquished everything your father owned, including this house. It was true. After Howard's death, Carrie had signed several papers. She had agreed that Jenny would keep the apartment she had shared with her father, as well as the car and other belongings. She was not interested in material disputes, but she had never imagined that the house was also included in those documents. The ground seemed to vanish beneath her feet. All those months of work, all the memories recovered, the entire healing process. But I came here personally to say that I'm transferring the house to your name, Jenny continued, surprising Carrie. This house belongs to your family's history, to a time you lived with your father. I hope you find peace and good memories here. Jenny extended an envelope containing the property transfer documents. Carrie, speechless, felt tears streaming down her face. I don't understand. Why? Jenny smiled, a sad but sincere smile. Because your father loved you, Carrie, and because I understand what it's like to lose someone you love. Before I met Howard, I lost my first husband to cancer. I know how it hurts. I know how hard it is to move on. Carrie had never imagined that Jenny carried her own story of loss. She had only seen the surface, the extravagant clothes, the excessive makeup, the joy that seemed forced. Howard helped me rediscover joy, Jenny continued, just as you rediscovered your roots in this house. I don't intend to take that away from you. On an impulse, Carrie hugged her stepmother. A tight hug, full of mutual understanding and silent forgiveness. Two women united by pain, by love for the same man, by the journey of rebuilding after the storm. Thank you, Carrie whispered. Thank you for loving my father when I couldn't be there for him. Jenny gently stepped back, wiping away a tear. He never stopped loving you, you know. He spoke about you every day. He was so proud of the woman you became. The two walked together into the renovated house. The afternoon light streamed through the windows, dancing over the new furniture, over the old family photographs that Carrie had framed and hung on the walls. It's a beautiful renovation, Jenny commented, looking around. Your father would be delighted. Do you want a coffee? Carrie offered. We can sit in the garden. The roses my mother loved are blooming again. Jenny accepted with a smile. While Carrie prepared the coffee maker in the kitchen, she looked out the window and saw a bluebird land on one of the rose bushes. She remembered how her mother said that bluebirds brought happiness. Perhaps memories really did not reside in things as her father had said. Perhaps they were in the sunbeams that streamed through the windows, in the song of the birds in the garden, in the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. And perhaps the true legacy her father left her was not the house itself, but the ability to open her heart again, to rebuild, to move forward without abandoning the past. With 2 cups of coffee in her hands, Carrie walked toward the garden where Jenny was waiting for her. It was time to share stories, to build bridges where there was previously only the abyss of resentment. It was time to finally turn the house of memories back into a home. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.